Allow me to read a few lines just to start this press con. This is to confirm an accident that happened at NAIA runway 24 involving a West Wing 24 aircraft bound for Haneda with 8 passengers on board. Upon learning the incident, I immediately called the Secretary Tugade, about the situation. He wanted to be with us tonight, but I prevailed upon him. Pasensya na ho, Secretary, mas matanda ho kasi sa akin sa Secretary. So I said, ako na po kasi may exposure ho tayo and he's on quarantine right now to make sure that his health is not compromised. Kaya po ako umarap sa inyo ngayon at nandun sa site, and every 10 minutes I was giving him update and he was giving me directions on how and what to do. So manhin ko nyo na wala sa secretary ngayon dito at kami ho ni Captain Don, Assistant Director General ng CAP. Kasama ko ho sa inyo, then si DG nandun pa sa site doing the part of the investigation. Questions?
Any questions? Yes, sir. Hi, sir, and this familiar again. Can we confirm, sir, if the incident was an explosion or was it a crash?
Well, currently it's being investigated. We cannot confirm or give, how do you call this, speculations. But indeed, it happened, and there were no survivors. It's too early to speculate, sir. It was a medical evacuation. Presumably 2 passengers were supposed to be evacuated for medical situation.
It was Presscon.
Ano po status ng mga passengers?
Gaya po nasabi ko kanina, unfortunately, no survivors.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, nakuha po ng DCWP. Sir, meron pong post si Senator Gordon na yung 8 pasahero daw po ay nabibilangan ng flight medic, nurse, doctor, 3 flight crew, pasyente at kasama nito. Confirm po natin yung mag-isa-isa po natin.
Tama po yun. Unfortunately, I cannot reveal the names because the operator is still trying to get the nearest of kin to inform them.
Sorry for this question, but is the patient related to COVID-19?
There was no indication. As mentioned to us by the operator. There was no indication so far. As far as we speak right now, there was no confirmation nor denial about the situation of the passenger.
Sir, magandang po. Paolo Barcelon po from CNN Philippines. May we know what impact this incident had on the operations of the NAIA Terminal International Airport? And do we have any initial info as to the history of this plane? Like, meron ba tayong idea if this is an old plane, if this is a new plane? Gaano madalas pa itong nagagamit dito sa ating sir?
I will leave that about the historical data of the aircraft to DG Don if he has some details. But to answer you in regards to the impact to the operation, right now, immediately after the incident, runway 0624 was closed. There was an aircraft that was supposed to be landing at around 10 or little past 10. It's a Korean Airlines flight, but it was diverted to Clark. We're trying our best to open the runway, but there's still ongoing investigation and likewise retrieval of the cadavers. So we cannot yet open the runway right now.
So just to be clear, sir, that particular runway is closed as of the moment?
That is correct, sir.
Sure, sorry. Maybe clarify what time did the airplane take off?
Based on the data that I have, it's around 7:57. Was it right? 7:57, and immediately after, I think the incident happened at around 8 o'clock tonight, and immediately right after a minute, our fighting unit was able to respond and was able to contain the fire. But unfortunately, the passengers were not there were no survivors.
So sir, naka-take off po yung aeroplano.
Okay, then.
Hi, good evening. Based on the reports of the Manila Tower, they were alarmed that for such as the size of the aircraft, took them some time to take off. Dapat dun sa haba ng take-off roll niya, naka-airborne na siya. So they were alarmed na bakit hindi pa. So they were really alarmed na kaya sila hawak na nila yung hotline, just in case whatever happens, matawagan na nila kagad yung ating fire crash and rescue. So that really happened. So as to whatever talagang detalye kung ano nangyari, hindi pa ho natin alam. It's still under investigation. But to answer your question, whether the aircraft is airworthy, it is. The licenses of the pilots are current. And it's a West Wind aircraft. It's a corporate jet performing a medevac from Manila to Haneda, supposedly.
We also have information that this aircraft is being used to transport medical supplies. Is it true, sir?
You're correct. Actually, kahapon lang po, nasa Iloilo siya, naghatid po ng mga medical supplies, and then they went back to Manila safely.
May we confirm also, sir, kung lahat ng nasa aeroplano ay Pilipino?
Mukhang hindi po. Mayroon yatang foreign national. Let me just... Meron pong dalawa, foreign national, isang Canadian, isang American citizen.
Would it be possible, sir, to know their background, related doctors?
I'm sorry?
Would it be possible, sir, to find out the background of the two foreign nationals, or the doctors or the nurses on board?
Seems like they are the passengers. So just, let me just check it out.
DG, a question lang. Are aircraft of this type equipped with flight data or cockpit voice recorders?
That's what we're trying to find out right now. Nandun po ang ating mga investigador ngayon at tinitingnan po nila kung anong meron doon sa aeroplano. So it's ongoing pa po tayo ngayon.
So if ever man na meron yun, sir, probably hindi natitingnan kung paano naging communications with Manila Tower.
Correct. Yung cockpit voice recorder is one part of the investigation.
Tapos to GM, sir, you mentioned that that specific runway 0624 has been closed. Do we have any estimate yet kung kailan ito mabubuksan? Or we will be waiting until matapos po itong sinasagawang retrieval operations?
No, sir. Currently, the investigation by CAP, because when there's an issue or an incident like this, we will have to make sure that the runway is clear before we're opening. But the investigation department of CAP are still conducting to find if there are some debris that will be used or it could be related to the incident. So it takes a little while. We're talking about 3,737 runway length. So just make sure that we are clear and we'll be able to get all the evidences relating to this incident before we can clear the runway. In terms of retrieval, we're also waiting for SOCO to come in because of the dead bodies. We're hoping that by roughly about 2 hours after midnight, that's the latest estimate given to me by the recovery team, that we will be able to open the runway and use for takeoff and landing. Yes, sir.
Were there flights suspended or canceled because of the runway closure, sir?
Sherwin, we have only right now around seven flights that are departing and arriving today, meaning from morning until the last minute of midnight tonight. So there's, as I said, only one arrival has been affected. This is Korean Airlines, which was diverted to Clark. And there are still aircraft that are standing by for takeoff. As soon as we clear the debris, then we will open the runway, but it's a restricted length. As soon as we're given the actual measurement, CAP will give us a go signal to open the runway for takeoff. Is that right?
Correct, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, this, for sound flight purposes, can you give us like a general information on what happened tonight? Lahat sir information na meron kayo in one statement, sir.
Well, that's what I said earlier in my opening statement, that we confirmed that there was an accident that happened tonight at around 7:57 as per the information of the takeoff. And unfortunately, all the passengers, there were no survivors on the flight.
Any more questions? Anybody? So,
To those, just an apology, just to those stations who've been calling me, I've got about 30 or 40 missed call. I have to apologize that I wasn't able to take your call because we were busy at the site early on. That's why we called them for this press conference, just to give you more details as to what really happened.
Sir, pahabol lang po, sir. Yung mga katawan ko lang nasa wing, ano po, nasa
They're still inside the aircraft, the chartered aircraft, but awaiting the SOCO to give us a go signal to retrieve or remove the body from the aircraft.
Gian, pahabol lang din pong tanong.
Sige, pardon.
Other than the two foreign nationals, what are the nationalities of the rest ng mga pasahero? Are they Filipinos or they also?
They are all Filipinos.
So to be clear, 2 foreign nationals and 6 Filipinos.
That is correct.
There are the two foreign nationals.
I'm sorry.
The two foreign nationals were the two passengers.
There were 2 passengers, one U.S. national and one Canadian national.
Do they, what is the relationship of the both of them?
Unfortunately, I don't have the details. Yes, sir.
Yung two passengers po ba ay patients?
No, sir. Sabi ko ho kanina, foreign nationals were, one was a Canadian national and the other one is an American national.
Yes, sir. Pero bakit po sila galing sa Japan?
Hindi ko natanong kung bakit po, but I'm sure it's a medical evacuation. I don't know really the details why they're going to go to Japan.
DDG, may pahabol lang po. Is it true that your Lion Air was also the operator of this flight?
Correct.
And if Lion Air was also the operator nung flight po ng nabumagsak in Calamba last year, is it also the same operator?
Same.
So sir, you were talking about 2 possible fatal crashes which happened in less than a year. What actions might be recommended for Lion Air given na may dalawa pong aksidente in the span of less than a year? Because what happened in Laguna was September of 2019. We're looking at March. So ilang buwan po ito?
Right now, the initial step that we are looking into is grounding the whole fleet. It's quite alarming, but we are looking into the records. Deeply we will be looking into the records of this unfortunate event that happened to Lion Air. Definitely, we will have a thorough investigation into this, and then we will advise the operator that the actions or the steps to be taken.
So talagang ano ba to, sir? Ang Lion Air, they really provide charter flights lang or medevac flights lang?
Both.
Both po.
Yeah.
So this flight in particular is a medevac flight and a charter flight or just a medevac flight?
Medivac.
Okay.
any more questions?
Have you talked to the operator from the airline about their side towards this?
As we speak, hindi pa po.
Sorry. May mga nagpapahabol lang po sa akin.
Go ahead.
Sa aviation. Sir, runway daw, the runway that involved is 0624. What about 1331? Ano pong gamit nito ngayong other runway na NAIA, sir?
It's temporarily closed because of so many aircraft that's parked right now because of no operations of our domestic flights. So we converted that area, and there is that part of the threshold as parking area. Unfortunately, with a shorter runway, we cannot make use of this for international flight insofar as the length of the runway 1331.